Hello, everybody. This is Gynarchic Awakening. I'm going to take a bit of a different tact with this video because right now I know there's going to be a lot of negativity and despair and bad feelings associated with the outcome of tonight's presidential election in the United States. I want to share some positives that I think are worth talking about. Some of them are going to be related to my community, the Gynarchy community. Some of them are going to be related to people who are outside of the community. So if you're thinking that I'm just talking to my people, you are mistaken. This is for everybody. So the first thing I would like to say is that this isn't like what happened exactly when Nazi Germany elected Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler was a person who served in the military. So unlike Donald Trump, he actually was on the battlefield. He did fight. This guy will have all his fighting done for him, whatever that is. So the fact that he doesn't possess that background, uh, it does matter. Also, the fact that he is so old and there have been signs of mental deterioration with Donald Trump indicates that this is likely going to be his last term as a president. There could be a possibility of a third run or a fourth run. You know, Franklin Delano Roosevelt did it. You know, I don't know. It's like if being an adjudicated rapist and a felon, if that wasn't enough for you, if you are strictly adhering to an ends justifies the means kind of thinking or ideology when you are voting for this guy, I don't see how being limited to 2 terms, I don't know how you would give a fuck about that. I don't know if you would even care if you love the guy that much. And apparently there's a lot of people out there that still support him, that still want him in there. That is very much clear. So, given that that's the case, him being as bad off as he is, having cognitive issues, those will worsen with time. Those will either force him to step aside and hand over the presidency to a much younger man who has his cognitive faculties intact, or he will have a mental health crisis or collapse before the end of his presidency. That is something that people need to be on the lookout for. And that's something also that is actually a positive because this isn't like electing a very young, physically fit, healthy dictator to a position of authority or a person who is authoritarian. Because when you don't have your cognitive faculties intact, when you can't think right, you can't focus, everything gets worse and worse. And with the collapse of it, that also means that the pain he's going to inflict will be temporary, at least coming from him. The suffering he will inflict will be temporary. So I actually look at his current mental health deterioration as a positive in that sense, as it will act as a sort of guardrail in its own sense against the possible damage he could cause if he was acting with malice or intent to harm or to be vengeful and had all of his cognitive faculties intact. It's much worse when you're dealing with when you're dealing with somebody who is young, who is very capable, who wants to inflict all the damage they can, but does so in a very calculated fashion, does it in a way to where they are efficient in what they do. So I feel like that's a positive that we need to be looking at here. The next positive, and this is for my community that I'm part of, everything he does towards women during the next 4 years, we will be able to document and share with our sisters and brothers around the world. Everything him and his supporters tried to do, we will be telling all of the rest of them around the world what they are doing. Every mistake you make in regard to the women and the girls, we will be writing down. And when we're done with all of that, we'll be teaching our children and our grandchildren about the failures of male leadership and how it destroyed a country and how it continues to destroy people's lives. We'll be taking good notes. You cannot stop us. We are Republicans. We are Democrats. We are political independents. We are apolitical. And we exist all around the globe. So for those who are thinking, hey, maybe if we just kill this guy or we kill a few others, that'll be enough, you don't have a chance. You cannot stop us. You don't have control over the planet, and you never will. So good luck with that. You might be able to kill me or torture me or whatever it is you're planning for me or people who you think are a threat to you. But that's not going to stop gynercists and other pro-women groups from sharing the horrors that you're planning to do or that you may carry out. We will save them for future generations. We will inform them what you will do. And it'll be as well documented as events like the Holocaust were. And the difference between then and now is we're going to have a lot more video footage of it. Because yes, people will record this stuff with their phones. It's not just going to be a newspaper or two writing about it. We're going to have a lot of footage of the fucked up things you do if you people decide to follow through on it. So that's a positive in its own way, because if we demonstrate that this ideology is going to continue to persist in the human species, we have proven our point. And these people don't realize that what I am is I am your true ideological opposite, whether you like it or not. You have the male supremacists, you have the people that want to repeal the 19th Amendment, do other things. But see, here's the thing. My entire ideology is predicated on the idea that males and their enablers, their supporters, don't want egalitarianism. They want to reject it. They want to say, fuck it. We don't consider everybody to be politically equal. We don't want them to be equal. So if you decide to take away women's right to vote and you go after their right to work or do any of the other things, you are essentially proving my ideology correct. My ideology is this: either men rule over women or women rule over men. And the reason is because men have shown again and again their rejection of egalitarianism. It's happened over and over throughout history. And if they reject it again, despite all the attempts at education, despite being reached out to and talked to, despite all the arguments, if they still do that shit, you are enabling my movement and the movement of anybody who thinks like me. You will feel us. So in that sense, it's a positive, because what you're going to do is you're going to make the women think, well, they don't want us to have rights. They don't want to share political authority with us. They want to enslave us. So be careful what you people wish for when you think like that, because your society will collapse. And those of us right now, we are busy talking with each other and organizing, and we won't forget the things that you do. And the women who eventually come over to our side along with the men will not forget what you do in the next 4 to 8 years. We will remember all of it. And that should be a fucking warning to all of you. And that should also be a lesson that if you're going to rule, it's better to be benevolent than completely despotic. Because when you go that route, you bleed support to the point where no one wants to be around you. It's sad that this is where we are as a country, but at the same time, it's actually going to be helpful to my movement and to the people, the other gynercists. Personally, I just want community. In case people don't know, I don't believe in state and federal stuff because of shit like this. That's another thing, by the way, another positive, but this is more for me and people who have been thinking community. This is a positive for us because this validates everything that we've been concerned about, which is that women's path to liberation, to freedom, to getting accountability and justice does not lie with the legal system. The political system. The political system is rejecting. It rejected a woman for president. It is continuously rejecting women. And it seems like the trend is only going to continue. So The longer the alienation of women occurs, the longer women are bullied and abused and mistreated by the system, the more it seems that community, especially gynocentric communities, are the more viable option and the more worthwhile investment of their time. Because what are they going to do? Are women literally going to get together and start like gathering firearms and going and shooting up people? I really doubt that. I don't think that that's the way that they go about securing their liberation. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's something that they would do. But even if they did, the problem with the information age is that it's really difficult to organize and coordinate anything because you have moles, you have people in your community who are willing to rat you out if it means that they stay safe or whatever. There's all sorts of means for either the federal government or for state governments to interfere with your ability to organize some kind of violent resistance if it's small enough. If it's too big, good luck. But even if it's like a violent protest where there's millions of people in the streets, I still don't think it'll be good enough. And the reason is because the ideology that is behind it is fueled by the notion that women are causing the collapse of civilization with the low birth rates. In other words, men are pissed off that women are not having sex with them and having their children. What they don't realize, of course, is they are the ones who are actually causing this with their behavior and their attitudes. And also, they are the ones destroying their own civilization. It's just easier to blame other people for what they see as a collapse in this context versus the collapse in another. They don't care that the environment and everything else is going to hell. They just want pussy. And sometimes on demand. That's what it looks like. Like these men just want pussy. Everything else doesn't mean jack shit. That's really what it is. Watch out. Marital rape will probably get legalized again. No-fault divorce will get legalized again. Watch as this shit unfolds. You're going to start seeing some crazy shit. My advice to people, especially women, is just leave the country if you can. And if you can't, adopt 4B movement strategies from South Korean women. You can look up the 4B movement on your own if you'd like. I could do a video on it and explain what it is that they do, but I don't think that's necessary. It's pretty straightforward and simple. But yeah, getting back to positives, there's a positive on that. There's also the positive in now people know that the political process is just fucked and that it's community that's going to provide the greatest degree of protection for women. It's going to be the people around you who are going to determine how safe you are, and that your federal government has abandoned you, that your state governments are eventually over time going to abandon you, that this fanaticism has taken control of the country. So that's a positive for my movement, and that now we see that this is the path forward, that the path forward is not through politics. The path forward is going to be elsewhere. This might be I might need a part 2 for this. The next positive that I see happening is that now that this guy is in office, I don't want to ever hear you fuckers talk about HARP ever again. Shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up about this. If you mention HARP while Donald Trump is in office, you're basically saying that Donald Trump is letting it happen. Do you really want to criticize a guy who's been given immunity for official acts as president? I wouldn't, unless you don't give a fuck about life and death like I do, and then okay, whatever, do what you're going to do. But if you say that a party that has control over the Senate, that has control over the presidency, that's probably going to have control over the House, and of course controls, if you say that this HARP shit is strictly in Democrat hands, you are beyond help at that point. But that also means that when the disasters get worse and everything else gets worse, then you will see that these politicians, and especially this guy, never had the power to change it in the first place. And maybe that will open some people's minds as to what kind of era they're entering. There will be a part 2.